If we take our file data tables, we can have a look at aligning a table. Now, as we've said, by default, when you insert a table, it fills the width of the page. But once you then start manipulating it, if we take the top table, for example, we may bring these columns in a little, feeling that they're too wide. And then the table doesn't fit the width of our page, so then we can have a look at changing its alignment options. Now, the alignment options are controlled in the table properties. The table properties are accessed by clicking here to select the table, and then either we right-click on that little rectangle, and we can access the table properties here, or with the table selected, we can go to the table tools, the layout sub-ribbon, and properties. And because the table is selected, it takes us into the table properties. Here are our alignments, left, center, and right. So this controls where the table sits on the page in relation to the margin. Now, if the table is filling the page width, then these options make no difference. But if we went left, we can see the table goes left align, back into the properties center, and it sits perfectly in the middle, back into the properties right, and it sits to the right-hand side, right up to the margin. So that's through the table properties. Now, the other options we can control in the table properties are the wrapping. So currently there are none, but we could choose around. Once you choose around, we then have the positioning to control where it sits. And you can see here we can control its alignment relative to the column or the margin or the page. The vertical position, again, relative to a paragraph, margin or page. Distance from surrounding text, if it just happens to be a little bit closer. Move with the text, so if the paragraph of text moves, the table moves with it. Now, if we say OK, and then OK, you can see our table has moved to be snapped up against this table here. To demonstrate better the table wrapping, we're actually going to take our second table, the population table, and we're going to squish the columns up because they don't need to be that wide. And then we're going to take this table, so we're going to copy and paste it. First thing to do is select it, right click, copy, then move to our ever popular Access Manual extract file, come down here into my first paragraph and paste. Now, we've been through the paste options, but they work just as well with a table. So you could Control C with the table selected from the other document, come into this document and paste. Now it pastes it with the same properties. So currently it just left aligns itself in a paragraph. If we then select and go into the properties, and let's turn wrapping on. So we're turning it on, but not playing with the positioning as yet. OK. And you can see then that the text then wraps down the side of our table. Now, once you turn wrapping on, you can actually grab your table and move it across to the right, into the middle, and it wraps both sides, wherever suits. I can move it across there a little bit, and I can even, as you can see there, move it so it overlaps the margin. Now, I wouldn't want to move it so far that it doesn't all print, but certainly it looks quite trendy if the table overlaps the margin. I might just move it up slightly so it doesn't impact on the next little section. Let's go a little bit further up. Now, once you activate the wrapping, if we go back into the properties and look at the positioning options, here you can see it's 4.71 inches relative to the page horizontally. So the left-hand side of it is 4.71 inches from this side, and vertically it's 0.43 of an inch from the paragraph. Now, we can control how far away the text sits if we think it's getting a little bit too close by pushing these options for the left and the right. OK. And that just gives a little bit more breathing space to the table. We left the option in for it to move with the text, so if the paragraph got moved down, you'll see that it doesn't actually move with the text. Now, the reason for that is because we've actually allowed it to overlap into the margin, so it's not been treated as part of the block of text. So let's just undo that return, move our table over to the left so that it's physically within the block of text. Let's drop it there. Go back to the first paragraph and press return, and you can see then it moves down with the text. So it stays that way with the text. If, however, I go into the properties and positioning, turn that option off, OK, and then come back to press return, you can see that the text moves down, but the table stays in its fixed position. So it will depend on what you want for the table. Do you need it to stay with this block of text because the text obviously is relevant to the table? Therefore, it should move with the text if the text ends up going to another page. Or is it always going to be here on page 1 and you need it to stay here on page 1 regardless of whatever text there is, and you turn off that move with text. It's in the properties, positioning, move with text. It's only available if you turn text wrapping on. If you turn text wrapping off, so there's no text wrapping, so we choose none, then the text does not wrap around the table. There will be some before and there will be some after, but there's no wraparound option. It's all down to personal preference and the particular document that you're working on.